Sergio, yes, Sam.
Well, okay.
Thank you, because I've been looking for them. Okay.
I did not do.
Oh, you can't go, Mr. Mitchell.
I think that we're on.
Young bodies. Oh.
I think that we're on. I think that we're on. So, yep, everybody over there saw you. All right, gentlemen, we need to get started with our group this morning. Hopefully, we are on over at North Point. I'm really not able to tell. If you're not on at North Point, give me a call and we'll do something a little bit different. I think it worked, but I'm not real sure. We'll see. This morning, we were talking about yesterday all of those issues that we were having with this and the other. This morning, we're all talking about self-esteem. We don't have everybody in our group as of yet, but I'm sure they're all coming. One of the things I want to remind North Point of is to fill out your sign-in sheets. These sign-in sheets for both HHSC and staff. We'll get this all started. So where is everybody at? I'm not certain if you can see the board. I know we can't see the board over here because of the way we have it turned. And we're going to be talking this morning about a couple of different things. The first thing we're going to talk about is self-esteem. And we're going to be talking quite a bit about self-esteem this morning. So why is it important? And most of us, of course, I know we all know, everybody has self-esteem, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Some of our self-esteem is, if we have high self-esteem, some of us have lower self-esteem. Is that, what should we have? High self-esteem. We ought to have, usually, we ought to have some self-esteem that looks good for ourselves, right? Yeah. I need to feel good about who I am. And sometimes life has a way of messing me over. Life has a way of making me not feel good about who I am. Just because something happens in my life, I have some kind of setback or something like that, and I don't feel good about who I am because of that. But what we need to do is stand against that. Because no matter what happens, whatever happens to me can happen to you as well, right? Yeah. So whatever's happening to you could be happening to somebody else as well. So it's not just me. So I need to make sure that I have, I'm looking at myself in a good light. I need to have good self-esteem. And we've been talking about that for a couple of days now. It's about to fix our own tutor. I need to be using positive self-talk, right? I can't get this down. Sorry. North Point, I just can't get it to stay where I want it to stay. So, yeah, but when I get over here, see, I can't be seen. And I know that, people just really want to be able to see me. Yeah. That's a thing coming on. Yeah, that's exactly right. Here's the deal. I had a lady tell me this morning that I should not be speaking in a low term about myself. Sometimes I do that. We all do that sometimes, and we're not going to be able not to do that sometimes. I'm so sorry.
All right.
But, we need to look at what we're saying about ourselves, about our situation, about what's going on in our lives and just see where we're going. How many people yesterday?
Do you think you have more room to catch balls?
Oh, I think it's all right. I think we're going to have to do something different as it goes back because it was over here the other day and it worked out real well, but I don't know where it was plugged up because I don't have that cord is not that long. So might be able to do it without the cord because we have a full charge on it. Let's see that. Let's just see how long it'll last.
Oh, it's actually.
That's a little better.
I was gonna ask.
Okay, so here's the deal. When I'm thinking about who I am, I'm thinking about what's going on in my life, I need to be thinking in terms of me being better than I am. Right? Because everybody, we've talked about this already, everybody wants to feel a bit better than what they are. We are never, let me say that one more time, we don't use the word never a lot, but we do use it every now and then, and we don't use the term always a lot, but we do use it every now and then. Excuse me. And what we mean is, look, here's the deal. If I continue to see myself in a poor light, I will never move to that place of high self-esteem that I want to be in. Right? I have to be the one that's talking about me well before anybody else can be expected to do. I have to be the one that says I am a good this and I am a good that and I am a good this. Because if I'm going to build my self-esteem, I have to begin working toward building my self-esteem by convincing who?
Myself.
Myself. I have to convince me. If I'm convinced that I can't do it, guess what? You can't do it. So here's the deal. I need to be convinced that I can do it. So what can you do? Self-positive thoughts, positive thinking, good positive self-talk. But you can do anything that you put your mind to, anything that you put your hands to, you can do. You can do anything. I had somebody ask me one time if I can do anything, can I do brain surgery? Can you? Sure. Sure you can. If you can get somebody to lay down long enough, just hold still. I saw them do that one time on Facebook, and it don't look all that hard. The deal about brain surgery, the deal about anything else that's going to come up in your life is that if you know how, it's not hard. Right? If you know how to do it, it's not hard. How many people like donuts? Now, I will tell you this, I don't eat donuts, but I like donuts. If I could eat donuts, I'd eat donuts for breakfast, lunch, supper, and then I'd eat a couple of donuts as snacks between the two. I like donuts. Donuts good. I would love. I saw a donut shop for sale in Port Neches. There's a donut shop for sale, and they only want $15,000 for that donut shop.
Don't do it.
No, I was telling myself, man, I could go have that donut shop. The guy said, "Look, I will even train you how to make donuts." That's amazing. That would, y'all find me dead there in the donut shop somewhere with the donut juice all over me and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to do that. But here's the deal. I don't know how to make a donut. But people do, and they make it look easy. Right? And we were talking yesterday about Mr. Farmer and how easy the computer stuff is for him. And he's really good at it. And the thing is that you and I can both be good at that as well. Right? We can be that. If we are willing to put the work in to get that done. And if we are willing to say to ourselves that, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. If I can't do it, no one can do it. I can do it. So, as we speak to ourselves in a positive way, then we're building our own self-esteem, right? Yeah. And we all want our self-esteem. We want to think well of ourselves. Right? And we want other people to think well of us as well. But here's the point. Can I influence other people? I can to some extent. Can't get in front of the camera there. I can't do that as much as I can convince myself. Right? So I have to start with me. And then other people will see the improvement in me. You know, if we come to group on time, we don't sleep in groups, we're the first one that's going to notice the fact that we're doing better. Right? But then other people are going to notice the same thing. He started coming to group. He started staying awake in group. That's an improvement. That guy must really be thinking about recovery. That's a big deal. So one of the things we're going to look at, the first thing we talked about, self-esteem. If I'm not feeling good about myself, I can't expect other people to feel good about me either. Starts with me. Starts with me. And so one of the first things I need to be telling myself is that I can do the recovery thing. Now, when I was trying to get into recovery, I had a lot of people who were helping me not do that. My great good friends were helping me not do that. They'd make sure that I had a little something when I needed it and all this kind of stuff. And they were keeping me from my goal. And it never worked out too well until I got to the place where I said, it's up to me. And I can do it. I can do it. So this morning we're going to be looking at our books on page 42 again. These are some of the things, the goals of the exercise. We have assignment number 5. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. This is what we were supposed to go over and take a look and understand where we are. I did give some books over at North, so you have some books over there. They're not ideal. They do say North, but they're not ideal. They have these big old loops on them, but they'll work because the information is the same. When we get some new loops in, it's not loops. Okay, I don't. These things on the end here, we'll redo the books for you. But right now, they're good. They'll work. So here's the deal. We need to begin this self-esteem thing with self-care. What does self-care mean?
Taking care of oneself.
That was perfectly said. Taking care of myself. We need to be taking care of me. That sounds like a simple concept, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. What page are you on page 42? It seems like a simple concept to say that, look, I need to take care of me. What's the first thing I do to take care of me?
Eat right.
Say it again.
Right.
Eat right. Eating right is a wonderful thing. Yeah, I think everybody needs to eat right. We need to be eating right. Do we all eat right? No.
Good hygiene.
No. Good hygiene. That's another one. We talked about that yesterday. But the very first thing.
Don't put in.
Say it again.
Don't put in.
Don't put it. All of the very first thing.
Don't use.
Don't use. The very first. All of those things are fantastic. All of those things are true. But the very first thing.
Clean up behind yourself.
Clean up behind yourself. That's a good idea. Another really good one. But the very first thing. Make your bed in the morning. All of that stuff is good.
If you shave, clean it up.
Say it again. Sleeping well. All of those things are good. All of those things are part of self-care. But
if you use the restroom, clean up behind yourself.
Clean the bathroom once you use it. All of those things are fantastic. All of those things are true. But look, if we go back to where we were when we started, the very first thing I need to do is start to talk about myself in a good light. And instead of saying, hey, you know what, I ought to eat well, what should I say? I've got to eat well. And if you go a little bit farther from that, I eat well. I eat the proper food. I sleep well. I do things to help my health. When I find out that something is not good for me, I stop doing that.
If you comb your hair, clean your hair.
Yeah, all of that. And instead of just saying that, I need to put that into my personal space and say, I take care of my hair and I do it correctly. And when I go to the bathroom and I shave and brush my teeth and I do all of the things that I'm supposed to do, I clean up after myself. Right? And who is it important that they clean up after? Who is it important to have cleaning up after me? Myself. Because here's the deal. If I clean up after myself and everybody cleans up after theirself, we're going to be in a clean house. And when Miss Rebecca walks through there, she's going to be so excited. You know, she's going to get everybody cookies. I do like cookies. And donuts and, stuff like that. But we need to be speaking those things about ourselves as if they are an actual, factual truth. I am a good husband. I am a good whatever I need to be. I'm a good spouse. I'm a good doctor. I'm a good client. I'm a good doctor. I'm a good whatever it is that I'm good. Whatever I want in my life, I need to be speaking it out so that people can see that that's what I am. And after a look, if you say that today, it may not take effect in the morning. It may take a couple of days. It may take a couple of weeks. It may take a year. But at some point, when I'm talking about myself, then it's going to work out. It's going to become a reality. And if I'm doing it the opposite way, if I say I can't ever learn how to do that, if I say I can't ever do this and I can't ever do that, guess what? We're going to go in that way too. If we say I always relapse, I always fail, I always do this wrong, I can't ever pass a test, I can't ever. One of the best counselors I know he had to go take the test 5 different times because he failed the test every time. But he didn't go around talking about the fact that he failed the test all the time. He went around talking about the way that he was going to pass it the next time. And that got him to that place. Huh?
My biggest thing was my wife. I had to get over her.
Yeah.
She's in a better place than I.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We need to look at. We talk about this a lot, and y'all know this. The fact that we talk about old people, places, and things so much that we get blue in the face. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Go ahead and finish what you said.
I don't know what I was saying.
You said you have to get over things.
Yeah, there's some people, we talk about old people, places, and things all the time, to the point sometimes that it becomes repetitious, and to the point sometimes that it becomes a little bit, we can anticipate that that's what we're going to say and all of that kind of stuff, but it's the truth. And this is why we keep talking about that. We're not going to get our self-esteem up to a place where we want it to be if we continue to go back to the places that's going to cause us not to be able to get our lives in the place where we want it. We want to be in our recovery. And like we said yesterday, recovery and sobriety are two different things because every drunk and every addict gets sober from time to time, and that's sobriety. Right? I can be sober. I got sober a bunch of times. I got sober every time I quit drinking. I got sober. And, I didn't like it a whole lot, but I was sober. So, but that's not recovery. Recovery demands that I stay away from some of those old people, stay away from old things, stay away from old places, and speak well about myself. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do without that person. Yes, I can not go back to that old place. Yes, I can live my life without doing those things. Yes, I can do well without cocaine. I can't. Yes, I can work and do a good job without methamphetamine. Yes, I can relax and get some sleep and do well without marijuana, without alcohol. Yes, I can follow. So I need to be cautious. Yeah. And is everybody going to do it? No. No. Because not everybody ready. Not everybody wants to be in recovery. And you know, that's who you are. Yes, you had a question, comment, or snide remark? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, one of the other things I want to look at this morning real quickly, we're going to go through this so we can get it a break and all of that kind of stuff, is imposter syndrome. Y'all heard about the imposter syndrome? Nobody's ever heard of that? Yeah. You know, the imposter syndrome is something we need to look at because we'll get there sometimes. Now, what we're talking about in this portion of our training is self-care, taking care of ourselves, washing things that need to be washed, you know, going, taking a shower, and cleaning things. And I will tell you that you may not know this, but if there's anything about you that I appreciate, it's the fact that you wash things. Not just your clothes, but other things. You know, you keep things clean and all of that kind of stuff, and I appreciate that. But in order for us to get to that place of self-esteem and get to a place where we're feeling good about ourselves, we need to look at the imposter syndrome because there's some things that's going on here. Now, here's the deal. It's normal, especially when we're in recovery, especially when we're in early sobriety, early recovery. It's normal for us to feel out of place. You know, I'm different from everybody else in the world, right? And to a certain extent, that's true. We're different from everybody else in the world. You know that? No one has the same fingerprints as you, right? And you know something that scientists have said is not only does no one on the face of the earth right now have the same fingerprints that no one has ever had. Now, I don't know how they came up with that, but they said no one has ever had and no one will ever have the same fingerprint that you have. So you are unique in that way. Also, you know how they use your eyes now to, you know, they put that little thing there and you have an eye screen and you go in some of those locked places. No one on the face of the earth has the same pattern in their eye as you do. No one ever has. No one ever will. So that makes you unique as well. Yeah?
Is there a true fact that no one snowflake?
I can't hear you.
The true fact that it's not one snowflake.
Yeah, the snowflakes are all different and all of that kind of stuff. Of course, we're not snowflakes. But one more thing about human is this. Your heartbeat, the rhythm of your heartbeat is completely different than anybody else. No one's heartbeat is ever going to have the same rhythm as you do. So you are unique that way, but you are the same in some of the other ways. You know, we're all at it. That makes us all the same. Does make us the same in some issues, right? So a lot of the time, though, when we get out of here and we go back into the world where we're supposed to go and where we have to go, then a lot of time we can feel out of place or doubt ourselves. Anybody here ever doubted themselves? Just a little bit? Yeah. I'm the best. I'm going to be. I am the best computer whiz you've ever seen in your life. I mean, when people look up computer whiz in the dictionary, my picture's over there beside it. You know, I mean, I'm that good with a computer. That's not a fact, not yet, but it's coming, right? It is. But when I opened up my computer just this morning, and you know, it looked at me, it looked back at me, and stuck its tongue out and said, "Not doing anything you asked me to do today." And it did. Had to go to another place, do another thing, get somebody to do me some help. But at some point, I'm going to be the one doing the help. So, but you know, at that point in time, it is natural and normal to doubt yourself. It is natural and normal when you go back to where people are around that you doubt yourself. You see all of these people who don't have an issue with drugs or alcohol and they're doing well. It's natural and normal for us to doubt ourselves occasionally. But what does the word occasionally mean? Every now and then. You know, I'm diabetic. Every now and then I can eat a donut. Every now and then. Right? I can't do that every day, 3 times a day. And I'm not going to doubt myself every day, 3 times a day. But occasionally, that's going to happen. But if you have these feelings most of the time, if you're doubting yourself all of the time, if you doubt yourself on every level, if you doubt yourself on everything that you ever have to do, that's what? That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? Yeah, that's a bit of a problem because at that point in time, how are you going to build your self-esteem if you doubt you can do it? If you doubt you can do anything, if you doubt you can get into recovery, that's going to make your recovery 10 times harder. If you doubt you can work the computer, that's going to make it harder for you to do. If you doubt you can drive a car, if you doubt you can make a cake, if you anything, if you go into it with doubting on your own ability to do it, it makes it hard. It makes it a whole bunch harder. So I need to believe that I can do it. Now, when I say I need to believe that I can do it, does that mean that it's going to be an easy thing for me to do? No. Not necessarily. It could be easy, but not necessarily. It may not be easy. There's a phone going off. Is that my phone? No. Is that your phone?
I'm trying to turn it off.
I apologize for that. I had my phone. It's not off. So there's some things we need to take a look at this. And it says, look, if you have these feelings all the time, if you doubt yourself all the time, if you can't go into any new situation without having a doubt that you can do it, then you may be suffering from the imposter syndrome. And so we'll look at that imposter syndrome a couple of times, a couple of minutes this morning. Imposter syndrome refers to long-lasting feelings of unworthiness. What does the word unworthiness mean?
Not good enough.
Not good enough. Yeah, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not bright enough. I had a gentleman tell me yesterday who is highly educated, very personable, a real nice guy, and he was asked to do one little thing, to read a little blurb, just to read a little blurb. And he said, I can't do that. Why? I'm not a public speaker. Well, you're talking to me, that makes you a public speaker. Right? I mean, you're talking to me, you're a public speaker. Oh, okay. But he just said, I can't do that. So he let himself out of a whole bunch of stuff that he could have been doing for the rest of his life by saying he's not a public speaker. Now, we had a back in the day, we had people come up and process their treatment plan in front of the group, because that's one of the things that we want them to be able to do. And we had a fellow here who had some mobility issues, some reading issues, some writing issues, some speaking issues. What did he do? He got up in front of the group, and he got up in front of the group more than once. He got up in front of the group several times and processed his treatment plan. And when I sat with him and I said, well, what are you going to do when you get out of here? He said, I'm going to be a public speaker. Okay. could you look at that person and say, probably he's going to have some issues being able to do that? He had some mobility issues. He can't walk very well. He had, he couldn't speak very well. He couldn't read, write very well. But he's going to be a public speaker. Is that possible? Yeah. The first thing he has to have is confidence in who he is. And so he said he's going to get into recovery. And secondly, he said he's going to be a public speaker. So, people like that become, I just think how fantastic that is. That's magnificent. That's wonderful because he's believing in who? Himself. And look, this is what we need to do to get ourselves out of the imposter syndrome. We need to believe in who we are. We don't need to have confidence to the point where we're egotistical about it, but we need to believe in who we are. So, the key feature of imposter syndrome is a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. People know that you're not real. I can tell you one way to do that is if we're truthful about who we are and what we can do and all of that stuff, usually we don't have to be afraid of being found out, right? This is who I am, this is what I can do, and this, I can't do this. This one very quickly, if I find something that I am lax on, find something that I need to improve on, I do two things. I begin to try to improve on that. Second thing is I let people know I need improvement. I'm not bad at it, I just need improvement. There's nothing wrong with it, right? I need to know how to do that a little bit better. So here's some of the traits that the imposter syndrome will bring out in us. These things are usually innate. They're there, and everybody has them. But the imposter syndrome will bring these things to the fore, make them show, and all of that kind of stuff, and get them out there. Having unrealistically high what? Expectation, standards. Yeah, if it's unrealistically high, what does that cause? If I have to be the number one dude at everything in the world, what does that do? Yeah, because I am never going to make that, right? Now, that doesn't mean I can't get better at it, but I'm going to tell you that if I have unrealistic high expectations, okay, I'm not going to be able to reach those expectations of myself. So I need to be realistic in who I am. That doesn't mean that I can't go to the very, very highest high. That means that I need to know that somewhere there may be a limit. And if I reach that limit, is that okay? Sure it is. I'm doing the very best that I can do. I'm doing the very best that I can. But if I reach the limits of my ability on that, that's okay. Y'all ever flown in a little airplane? Yeah, I love to fly little airplanes. I will tell you this. One of the things that when they're training you, they want you to do is make the airplane stall. You have to make the airplane stall. And you're up there, 30,000, you're not 30,000, you're up there 3,000 or 4,000 feet. And the instructor says, stalling. So what do you say to it? First time he said, okay, stalling. No, I ain't gonna do that. Nope. He said, well, you cannot pass the course. You can't get your life unless you can save yourself when this aircraft stalls. I said, well, I'm going to buy me one of them unstallable airplanes. I don't want to be stalling in the airplane. Because you don't have any parachutes. You don't have any of that kind of stuff. After a while, had to get there. Had to get there. I had to say, okay, we'll stall the airplane and do that. So, that's one of the things, I can fly a 150, a Cessna 150, I can fly that thing. I can fly a Cessna 172. I can fly that. A pilot. Can I fly a 747?
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet you know, if I had some training and stuff, I could, but right now, they're so different. You know, the 150 has 18 gauges. The 747 has 327. What are you going to do? So, my standard is I want to be a really good 172 pilot. I had a guy tell me the other day, he said, you want to go up to be a multi-wing, multi-engine pilot? No. I just want to say, this is good. This is good.
What about a boat?
Sir?
A 750 boat.
I don't know what.
No, that's it. No.
No, I don't know what that is. So. Would tell it to me again. I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. Say it again. More of that.
750 boat.
A bowling, a seven.
Boeing.
Boeing. I can't do that. No. Here's the other thing. We have high standards, way too high sometimes, and we're dreading being found out as a fraud. There's sometimes you tell people stuff that's not true. Sometimes you put stuff on your resume that might not be real, trying to get the job. And then you spend the rest of your time at that job trying not to get found out. Trying not for people to find out that you're really not what you said you were. Right? I can type 300 words a minute with 2 fingers. No, you can't. No, you can't. So we don't want people to know that we're not telling them what we are, who we are. Hiding our deficits rather than addressing them. Anybody have any deficits in here? What's a deficit? Or something that's not quite as good as it should be. Don't type quite as fast as I need to. Not as good on the computer as I should be. Not as good at public speaking as I ought to be. Not as good as welding as I should be. Any of those things. We have some deficits sometimes. Forget to shower every now and then. We have some deficits. And obviously some people have some deficits of cleaning the bathroom after themselves, because that was mentioned several times. And, we have some deficits in those areas. What can we do about deficits? We address them. We address them. Whatever my deficit is, I address it. I try to fix it. Most of the time, if we are a imposter, we try to hide it. We're supposed to be speaking well about ourselves, but then we're also not supposed to be hiding the things that we have that need worked on. If there's something I need worked on, what do I need to do to it? I need to work on it. And if there's other people that's involved and I need them to help me work on it, what should I do? Let them know. That's a good point. Let them know. I need Ms. Kim to help me do this. And, she's nice enough. She's a nice guy, she's good. She'll help me do it. For the right amount of money, she'll be right there. So we don't hide our deficits. We address our deficits. Okay. And then we already talked about this a little bit. Constantly feeling out of place. Constantly feeling unworthy. If I feel like that about myself, then those things that I need to do to get myself in my recovery, those things that I need to do to get that better job, I'm not even going to go try and get that job because I'm unworthy. I have had people come to, I used to do the hiring and firing in a company, and I've had people come to me and sit down, and I actually had a guy tell me, you don't want me to work here, do you? I said, no. They said, well, I guess I'm wasting my time. Probably are. You don't come in and sit down and say, you don't want me to work here, do you? No. With that kind of attitude, those are, I prefer to have somebody who comes here with some confidence that you need me. And I've had people do that too. I'd say, well, why do you want to come to work for our company? And I've had people tell me, your company needs me. Okay, explain yourself. And then they show you how the company needs them, and then that person, usually they work out pretty well. So we don't hide them. We don't consistently feeling out of place, consistently feeling unworthy. I'm not as good as. Yeah. I'm not as good as somebody else. I'm not as good as that other person. Is that true? You may not be as proficient at something as somebody else is. That has nothing to do with being good or not being good, or being worthy or not being worthy. Right? Right. Just then look. And then the next one is dwelling on negative feedback while ignoring praise and achievement. So, when somebody comes up and says, hey, you didn't do that very well. Are you going to, look, when we get out of here and go back into the workaday world and we get a job, are you always going to do that job perfectly? We're going to try to, we're going to want to, but probably that's unrealistic. And I'm going to tell you something, and my boss knows this and my boss's boss knows this. There is a pretty high likelihood I'm going to screw something up. You know what? On my resume, I put down there when it says, okay, what do we need to know about you? I'm human. Right? I'm a human being. So,
Camera. Not in front of
hey, y'all please don't walk in front of the camera.
Too long.
Is that broadcasting all over the world? Everybody in the world. So we're dwelling on negative feedback because I will tell you this, that there are people out there who want to help you. Right? There's a lot of people out there that want to help you feel bad about yourself. There's people out there that want to help you understand that you're not as good as they are. Right? And so when people say something nasty, ugly about you, what do you do? Beat them up, punch them in the face. Who's got your shirt? Everybody has a point of view until they get punched in the mouth. But look, we can't do that. We can't do that. But what we can do, there's two things that we're supposed to do when somebody has a comment about your work, about your person, about who you are, about the way you're receiving things. What do we do? What we're supposed to do is take a look at it. What's that again? He's going to pray for him. He's going to beat him up, and he's going to pay for him. What we do is take a look at it, analyze it. If somebody says, hey, look, you are doing a very poor job at this, then we need to take a look at that and see if that's true. And if I can see for myself that I'm doing a very poor job at that, what do? I correct it. I do it differently. I work on it a little bit. I try to make it better. I try to do a better job at that one thing. What if I figure out that it's not true? What if they say, well, you don't handle this well, you don't do that well, and then I go back and I analyze the situation and I take a look at it and I say, wait a minute.
Do it again.
I do that well. What do you do? He said, do it again. So what do you do? Right, you don't have to correct it at that point in time because it's not true. And some people are going to come and tell you some things, some negative things that are not true. And when they come and do that, then I have the choice to just ignore them. I've had people in groups tell me some things that I ought to do to myself that's physically impossible.
No. That's good.
And I just kind of ignore that. You know, you just can ignore those things. You don't have to take everything that somebody tells you negative about you, about what you're doing, about how you're doing what you're doing to heart. You don't have to necessarily believe everything that somebody says about you. So a lot of the time, we take those negative things and we dwell on the negative thing. And I've seen people quit their job. I was in my director's office one day, and we were talking, and he got a telephone call from one of the other supervisors across the farm over there, and she told him something, and he chewed her out on the phone. I'm going, oh. You know, he ate her up on the phone because she was not doing this the way he wanted her to do it and all of that stuff, and he just chewed her out. They're going, okay. And she said, well, you going to be in your office for a few minutes, sir? He said, yes, I'm in here with Dr. Garner. I'll be here for the next hour or so. She said, okay, I'm coming over. I have something for you. He said, okay. So she came in, walked up to his desk, put her resignation on the desk, and said, you can't talk to everybody like that. And she walked out. Okay. She was actually not doing what she was supposed to do, but she let that cause her to lose her job. So she should have done what she was supposed to do. She should have taken it to heart and done what she was supposed to do. Yeah. So, you know, I don't like getting yelled at either, but if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, then I need to be man enough to accept the fact that, hey, this I brought on myself. This I did. But I don't get yelled at because I'm just mean. So people scared, you know. But what we do, instead of ignoring the things that people tell us that are negative, we ignore the praise and the achievements that we do. You know, every day when I go home, I go over in my mind what I got done with. I did group. I did the notes for group. I managed to get the computer up. I said, hey, to my buddy. You know, I did all of those notes. I did all of those things. And some other things I got done. But, so I'm looking at the achievement. And I don't want to ignore the fact that, hey, you know, I might not have done everything well today. I might not have done everything exactly the way I was supposed to today. But I got this done. And you know, I've had people tell me, hey, you're doing a good job, and that's great. So I don't ignore those things. And a lot of the times, that's what happens to us when we're in this imposter syndrome. Somebody is telling us we did a good job, and we'll let it go. We'll ignore that. Or we won't ignore somebody tells us we're doing a bad job. One of the things that I want, when people are talking to me, I want proof. I want proof. Somebody says, well, you're not doing your job well. You're not doing your job right. You're not doing your recovery well. Show me how. Show me what you mean. Show me how I'm not doing it well. If somebody comes up and says, hey, you're doing a great job. You're doing a fantastic job. I want them again to show me how. What do you mean by that? Because sometimes people can come and tell you, you know, you're doing a fantastic job and you're doing all this and it's wonderful and you're doing well when you yourself know that you shouldn't be in the bar. They may be being sarcastic or they may be trying to help you get into that place where you lose your recovery. But I will share this with you. I'll take it for what it's worth. One of the big reasons we don't want you to go back to old people, places, and things is because those people know you from who you used to be, and that's who they like. That's who they're friends with. That's who they love. And so they want you back where you used to be. And so they will help you get back to where you used to be, which is not a good thing. That's not where you want to go. So here's some of the consequences of all of these things. We've got all of these things going on, having unrealistically high standards. They dreading being found out as a fraud, having deficits rather than hiding those deficits, rather than addressing them, consistently feeling out of place or unworthy, dwelling on the negative instead of the good and the praise and the achievements that you get. Here's some of the things that happens to us when we get in that place. We have some missed opportunities. If you don't feel like you're good enough to get promoted, are you going to go up for the promotion? Probably not. Probably not. Don't make any sense for me to go up for that promotion. I went up for a promotion out of prison. I knew I was qualified. I had all the confidence in the world. And I was sitting there telling, you had the warden was there, the HR lady was there. And at the end of it, they had already seen a couple of people. And they asked me, is there anything you'd like to add? And I was ready. I had a whole sheet full of things that I wanted to add. And while I'm adding some of that, the warden was sitting there going, what did that tell you? He was bored to tears. I might as well leave. Somebody else has already got the job, all of that kind of stuff. But here's the deal. I went to the next board to get the job again. And I got it. So the thing is, we don't need to feel like we're not worthy. We need to go. We need to try it out. We need to check it out, see what we can do. Right? So a lot of times we feel like all of this over here, we're going to miss opportunities if we allow ourselves to get to that place. It's also, all of these things here, this imposter syndrome leads to low self-esteem. Now, we all have self-esteem. Some of our self-esteem is low, and some of our self-esteem is high. And what we need to, if we have low self-esteem, I feel bad about myself. Let me share a little secret with you. Y'all don't tell anybody else. People in the north, y'all can get this too. But don't tell anybody else. There's enough people in the world to tell you how bad you are. You got a lot of friends, and you got a lot of family that'll tell you how low down, no count, lower than a snake's bed in a wagon rut piece of slime you are. They'll help you know just how bad. So you don't have to do it to yourself. We don't have to do that for ourselves. We got enough people in the world who want to do that for us. That's what they're there for. So they're going to be helping us feel bad about ourselves. It's up to us to feel good about it. I know used to know, he's retired now, but there was a pastor in the town that I'm from, and he's a fine man. He's a fantastic guy, good pastor, good preacher, good all of those kinds of things. But in the day, he used to be around there. He was an addict and all of those kinds of things. And when you tell people, well, I'm going to go down to such and such church, and say, well, I'm not going down there. I remember how he used to be. Okay. People will let you know how you used to be, and that they expect you to be the exact same thing. Now, it doesn't make any difference during your recovery. It make any difference. You've gone through treatment. You've done all that stuff. You have in your own mind decided you're going to make a change. Doesn't matter to them. They're going to tell you who they see you as being. And that, if you listen to it, if you believe them, then that low self-esteem is going to creep back in, and there you are. So it's going to cause low self-esteem, and we don't want that. We want to have high self-esteem. We want to believe in who we are. You can't get into recovery. I can get into recovery and stay there. I can have a good job, have a good life. I can do all of those kinds of things. I need to have that high self-esteem. Next time I go looking for a job, I ain't going in there like a worm begging for something. I'm going to go in there and those people know that hire me, you're going to do a good thing. When you hire me, you're going to get some good material. When you hire me, it's going to be good for the company, as good, at least for the company, as it is for me. Because I'm a confident individual with high self-esteem. So it also causes, if we get into this, we got all of this mess going on, it's going to cause a loss of confidence. So how many of us are confident? I'm confident. Are you confident in every situation?
Yeah.
Are you? Yeah. That's an interesting thing. I'm not as confident as I'd like to be in every situation. You know, I got out of my car the other day, and there was a great big old German Shepherd dog out there. My wife loves dogs. I'm looking at this dog, and I mean, he's about 90 pounds of dog. So, okay, I'm drinking a soda, got a can full of soda, and my wife kind of stepped toward that dog and said, "Hey, puppy," and he started coming alive. Like he was going to eat her. At that point in time, I did not have the confidence in myself to think I could get the dog. I didn't have that. I didn't have anything to shoot. I did throw the can of soda at him, and he finally left. But my confidence level went down at that point in time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to defend my wife against this thing or not. So my confidence level is not always way up here in every situation, but I do have enough confidence to know that in most situations I'm going to be okay. Right? At that job, if I go to a job and I tell those people, look, I want to come go to work for you, then I have the confidence to know that, hey, you know what, if they give me the job, I can do the job. And I'm not going to sit in that chair and let them know I'm doubting my own self-worth while I'm sitting here. They're not going to know that. They're going to know that I'm confident and I believe I can do it. What if you get into a situation where you are not confident, you don't believe you can do it? Maybe go get some more training. Till you get to a place where you are confident. Okay, yeah, I can do it. Anybody ever tried to be a welder? Ooh, that's a hard job, isn't it?
But you have to have confidence to know if you think, oh, you're wild.
Oh, yeah. You can't back down, when something like that's going on. I tried to be a welder when I was a kid. I have confidence in myself, and I know that I can strike an arc and and be a spot welder. I can do that. I can't go much farther down. That's in my heart. Can't do it. That'll cause a loss of confidence and get you to a place actually where it'll bring you into a place where you are suffering from depression. And those things we don't need. Look, we don't need to be hiding who we are. This is who I am. This is who I am. I'm confident in who I am. And what I have to offer is something that you need. What I have to offer is something that's worthwhile. What I have to offer is going to be as good for you as you are for me. This is going to be a partnership. I'm not just working for you. I'm going to do a really good job for you. This is a partnership where I help you get what you need and you help me get what I need. Right? That's what we should be doing for the work for somebody. We're going to take, there's 3 or 4 more of these I want to share with us. But we don't have time to share them before break, so we'll share them again right after. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. We got 15 minutes, and then y'all come back. You're welcome for break. All right, thank you. North, y'all go take your break, and then come back. We'll get started back again. Are you not feeling well? Who's your counselor? Sheree, you want to go see if she'll let you lay down? I think she's in her office if you want to do that. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think my husband paid about $25 or $30, and it's got a Bluetooth speaker that screws in the bottom of it. Yeah, I don't got the speakers at the house, but it screws in the bottom of it. So you cook that. A guy that my husband used to work with, his wife makes them, but you know, you can, buy these on Amazon. And then you find the design you want and transfer it, you know. Like my friend, one of my friends does them. She said she puts it, wraps the thing around it and puts it in the oven on such and such temperature for such and such amount of time, and it puts the thing on. And I got one that's got a cross on it.
I'm gonna get moving. I'm gonna get moving.
How you doing? God help you.
Water. Here's about water. We got what's up? Relation, Dante broke his David Dante. Well, that sucks. We need to get another one. Surely that can't cost that much. Y'all ain't got the bottle of water?
Shit.
Oh, coming on hard times.
Yeah, I like
They're jamming, ain't he? They're not in. I looked this morning.
I showed you on this one.
I'll look again, but
Right.
I know they said there was some yesterday, but I think it might only be one pack. Is that all the cleaning stuff I have to do? You been doing all right, Mr. Charles?
I'm trying to talk about you. I'm really on phone.
Yeah. I know, I'm fighting. I'm trying to get, I had a cigarette today. I had one yesterday. Just one.
I don't have this damn phone with it. School in the kitchen.
In the kitchen?
You school in the kitchen. I say, the wrong you.
Did you talk about the one with the dark hair everybody had a problem with?
No, let's walk right there. See my club. She sit there and talk about big. The way she
talking about it.
yeah, when she was the way last person had a little bit and stuff she fucked with. Now we used to fuck with men ago. That's a bitch. One little wife would be a bitch head. Stupid motherfucker.
She was in here talking about this.
Man, you know what man, I'm just saying she was a sick motherfucker. And then she was talking about all kind of bullshit she going man and 6 feet and big feet. I looked at this bitch, I said, oh,
She don't know.
yesterday.
She don't even talking to y'all like that.
Yesterday. She talking about all y'all. And I got that up. I was at a friend. Y'all real nice ladies. And we she was. I'm not late like ain't no. I spoke my head. I said, I mean, I mean, you know what that meant? Swept on everything, shit.
Right.
Yeah, she was sick mother.
Look, I might have been telling you,
I'm just saying she ain't had no business
talking like that.
like that in front of all the men. I told my sister, don't remember what the
Freaking your money. How she produced it.
Never talking about ideas.
That's
Never talking about things. I like that. We ain't never good talk.
right.
And I ain't never talked I never talked. I'm like, I know. I let the eight hours later put the people I hate it.
Mr. Charles, you ain't the only one that feels that way.
Sit there, bitch. That bitch got to sit that mad in the mother. Call that bitch. What is it? No problem.
Oh, Lord, I feel like it's getting higher all over the scratch pad.
Hey, Kim,
Yes, sir.
I got this blue and my supplement. And I'm using
You got,
this one I found down.
you got what?
A little deal of blue,
Some blue?
a rubber blue. And I bought, but they give me something blue in it. It's got a crack in the handle coming off of it, and I didn't cut it.
You gonna glue it?
So whenever you find something, don't hurt it.
Alright. Remind me,
Remind you.
yeah, let's remind each other so then when you got time to do it.
It's long, my list of long,
The Great Wolf. 2000.
Right? All that.
You shall not have known the Lord God before me.
Couple of years ago. 2023, we pulled it.
You shall not make a image behind heaven above, or on the earth beneath.
well, that's one I bought that for the building. I wasn't gonna have that. So I'm gonna call on that.
Ours is really nice. And I thought it's got carpet, but you know, it's
And
it's nice, but it gets old.
Get the second quick too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what the insurance would be on one.
third,
To have it, I don't know.
pursuant
It'd be higher than the car, wouldn't
But I don't think it's all that much. A couple $100.
misuse the name of God will hold anyone guilty who misuses his name.
You talking to me?
Now, take a minute.
Big deal, yourself? Okay.
Verse 7 days. 6 days you shall labor all your work. By the seventh and the seventh to the Lord. On it you shall not do any work, neither or not do any foreign sign.
All right. Going to get started back here in just a second. Finish this up.
Go through this tunnel and come back home.
Let me share a couple of things with you. Get started so everybody knows over in North and here as well. I'm going to be out tomorrow, and then I'll be out again on Monday. So I'm not sure how it's going to work. I'm going to
Stay gone for a couple days. Don't rush yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But we'll be here.
Man, we enjoy your group. Don't get me wrong. But go on to live for that question.
We got to go. We're just going for the weekend, and then I'll be back on Tuesday. But someone else will be doing the group, and I don't know how they're going to do it. They may do it the same way we're doing it here. I'm going to have to go to Sierra, having a meeting here in just a minute. and I'll get with her about how that's going to work. But it's going to work, and it'll be all right. So we'll let you know how that goes.
We're having a world on it. That's gonna work out.
Oh yeah, I don't know how, but it's going to work out.
You have confidence.
I have total confidence not only in myself, but in Miss Sierra and all the rest of the folks that have that are out here. Know that it's going to work the way it's supposed to work. There's a couple of other things that are important for us to know about this imposter syndrome and what it's going to do to us, or what it can possibly do to us.
Please let us know when you leave.
Okay,
Let us know when you leave, please.
I'm going to be gone 2 days. I will let you know. We talked about, all of this mess. If we feel this way about ourselves and all of that stuff, we're feeling unworthy and all of this, it can cause a depression. And we do not want to be in a place where we feel depressed or anxious and all of that kind of stuff, right? Well, we get there. One of the other things that we'll do, or can do, none of this stuff is absolutes, right? We don't deal in absolutes because there are outliers. Remember, there are some people that's not going to affect this way, but for the most part, it's going to affect all of us in the same way. And so one of the things it's going to do for us is lower our productivity. We're not going to be able to be as productive as we want to be in life itself. That means that when I'm working somewhere, I'm not going to give as much as I should be giving. My productivity is going to go down. If I don't feel like I can do a good job, guess what? I'm not probably going to do a good job because why do it if I can't do it well? And so my productivity is going to fall down. Somebody else needs to pick this up. I actually know people that when you talk to them, everything that ever happens, especially if it's a negative thing, is somebody else's fault. It was like that when I got here, right? I didn't do that. I told somebody else all of these kinds of things. So my own productivity goes down while I'm trying to get other people's productivity to go up. Because I'm living in this imposter syndrome world. So I need to, the only way that I can build that back up, get my productivity where it's supposed to be is what? One of the first things is that I need to know what I'm doing. Right? If I know my job, if I know what I'm doing, if I know what I'm trying to get done in life, it's easier to be more productive than if I don't know what I'm doing. So if I don't know what I'm doing, what should I do? Learn. Yeah. Learn. Figure it out. Learn. There's always a place where you can go and learn something. There's always a place you can go. Right now, I'm taking courses, and there's a company, a school called Allison, and if you go online, you can take courses from Allison for free. Yeah, and you can get all sorts of courses. I'm taking some courses on there for free. And at the end of it, you don't have to pay a dime until you get to the end of it, and then they'll ask you if you want to get your certificate. You have to pay for the certificate. Yeah, that's a pretty smart business model. You don't have to pay. It's all free. When you get to the end of it, they say, some people would like to have their certificate just to be able to show people. So if you want yours, it costs $35. Yeah, but it's still a good deal, and you can do those things. And whatever situation you're in, if you need to learn some more about it, you can learn. And it can help your productivity, and help go back up. And if you can increase your productivity, what does that do? Right, it absolutely increases your value for the company, but what else does it do?
You got different opportunities.
You have different opportunities, it also helps your self-esteem, it helps your confidence, It helps if you know you can do a good job for the people who are paying you money, then your confidence can go up, your self-esteem can go up. You can do all sorts of things. So, that's a good thing to know. And also, if you are living in this syndrome, look, this takes a lot of effort to pretend to be something that we're not, and to keep that farce alive and working. It takes a lot of energy and effort to do that. So a lot of the time, people will suffer from burnout. 90% of the time, I will tell you this, that most of the job that you're doing is hard enough by itself, right? Whatever that job is, if you're a welder, truck driver, counselor, whatever that job is, it's hard enough to get that job and do that job well just by itself. Just doing the job itself. That's hard enough, right? But if we're trying to hide who we really are, we're spending some of our effort and our energy on being something that we're not, then that's going to cost us to have more and more effort. It's going to get harder and harder to do. And I'm sure you know that when I lie, I usually have to tell another lie and then another lie to keep covering up for the first lie, right? And so that costs me energy, that costs me effort, that can lead to burnout. What happens when somebody gets burned out? 90% of the time, they quit. They're gone. I have had people come tell me, "Hey, look, man, I can't do this anymore. I'm totally burned out. So what do you do?" Well, if they're a good employee and you want to keep them, you send them home for a couple of days, like you said. Go home. Take a couple of days off. Do that. We taught a thing called 5-minute vacations. We used to do that all the time. Take a 5-minute vacation. Just sit down, stop working, think about where you would like to be. Get that pleasant imagery thing going on for yourself, and that will help you avoid burnout. One of the other things that will help you to avoid burnout is to get out of the imposter syndrome. Be who we are, get at our skill level, say, "This is who I am. This is what I know. This is what I can do." And if you stay there, it keeps all that pressure and all of that other stuff away from us, and we're in a little bit better shape. And we're not usually going to burn out as quickly. Right? Does that mean we're never going to burn out?
No.
Sometimes, look at here, you're going to get tired. If you're working, you're going to get tired. Now, I'm a pastor, and I'm doing this, and that's why we're taking tomorrow and Monday, we're taking Sunday off, and we're going to just be not available 4 days. And that's going to help with all of that stuff. You have to practice self-care. And I'm sure that every one of us knows that being here, doing what we're doing here, for most of us, is practicing self-care. Right? Being in recovery, being in this facility, going through this program, is self-care. Now, some of us are here because somebody sent us here and all that kind of stuff. Does that mean that we cannot practice self-care while we're here? No. Even though probation, parole, CPS, whoever sent us here and said, "You will go." Okay, now I'm here, so I can practice self-care. And I can make this self-care. I can get something out of this that's going to help my life and help me get where I'm going. So, sometimes it's going to do some burnout. The other thing it's going to do is social isolation. What is social isolation? Well, that's isolation. Just isolating yourself from the world. Yeah. Isolating from other people. Social isolation means that I'm afraid to go around other people. I don't want to go to the company Christmas party because somebody may ask me a question that I can't answer. Somebody may point something out that I'm not doing correctly. Somebody might find out that I'm a fraud. Somebody might find out that I'm not who I say I am. Right? Anybody think they practice being a fraud at all? I think we do. I think, and you may not. Like I said, there's those outliers. Most of us put our best foot forward.
I think we just do it.
Most of us do that. Most of us are going to try to be a little something that maybe we're not. But most of us do that. Now, we may not do it to the level where we become that imposter, but we do it to some level. Maybe just a little bit. So, we'll practice social isolation. That means that when I do get there, if I do go to the Christmas party, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I don't want to have any conversations with anybody. I don't want to be part of that, so people feel like I'm stuck up. People feel like I don't like them or whatever. And all I'm really trying to do is what?
Socialize.
Yeah, I want to get to a place where I can hide myself. I don't want anybody to find out. If people find out, then they'll know that I'm a fraud. They know that I'm not who I'm supposed to be or not who I say I am. And so, that's pretty bad stuff. So it can also lead us to a place of anxiety. And so, this issue is going to lead me to depression. It's going to lead me to anxiety. We have a whole lot of people in the world now that are taking drugs to get away from depression and anxiety. And I'm getting to that place of depression and anxiety just because I'm trying to be something I'm not. So how do I deal with the anxiety and the depression? I can take the drugs, but a better way is to get out of that and get out, reduce the stress and get out of this imposter syndrome. Try being more who I am. Try being confident in who I am, have my self-esteem in a place where I'm okay with me. And I've heard people say in the past, I'm comfortable in my own skin, so I'm okay with who I am. So here's some. I want to read this to you. I don't really. It's pretty sophomore, but I want to read it anyway. So here's some examples that we could have of how this might work in our lives and in other people's lives. If you're going to work at a new place, as Keith just started a brand new job, everyone was impressed by his application. Everyone was impressed by his application. But again, I can't tell you when you... Resume. Yeah, impressed by his resume. This is application. So, this is application, right? Everyone was impressed by his application or his resume. They thought, oh my God, did you look at this? This guy can do a whole bunch of stuff. And he agonizes over whether he can meet the expectations of the people that he's working for. I've been in that situation a couple of times where, I've been in the business for a long time, so I got this long resume. But when you get there, you say, I don't really know that I can handle all of it. Because when you go in, you hand them that, they say, okay, you're going to do 30,000 different things. And you go, I don't know about that. But he was at that place, he didn't know if he could meet their expectations. He berates himself for any mistake. Anybody here make mistakes? Oh, yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. How many people really enjoy making mistakes? You do. I knew there'd be one. I'm not real thrilled about making mistakes. What do you do when you make a mistake? Run from it.
Learn from it.
He said, learn from it. Yeah, and that's a good point. If I make a mistake, I need to learn from that mistake so that I don't make that mistake again. I will tell you that I suffer from perfectionism, and that's not a good thing. It's so that perfectionism, you don't want to make any mistakes, and when you make a mistake, you hide the mistake, you lie, you cheat, you steal, you do whatever you can to keep people from knowing that you made a mistake. So in my own life, I have learned that if I make a mistake, no matter how small or no matter how egregious it is, I have to tell on myself right now. I can't just let that go. I have to go tell somebody right now. And that's helping me with that disease model. It'll help me get past that. So Miss Sierra is my boss. And so if I screw it up, then I'm going to go tell her. The fact that, we're on here, the folks over at North are calling her and telling her now. So you can't make it. So I want to be in a place, and I have gotten myself to a place where mistakes don't scare me anymore. Mistakes don't bother me. And this guy's scared to death he's going to make a mistake because he told these people I'm perfect. I'm fantastic. You ain't never seen anybody like me. And then when he gets there, he says, oh, man, I lost a pencil. I don't know what to do. I've lost a pencil. I can't let these people know I'm losing company stuff. I've lost a pencil. So he's freaking out. So, if I lose a pencil, what are you going to do?
Right, you gotta go.
Yeah, I got to quit. I'm going to fire you. No, I'm going to go tell Miss Sierra, I lost that pencil you gave me. It's just like getting on here. Y'all see I got it all written down there. She showed me how to do it like 4 or 5 times. And I had to go back and say, hey, you didn't show me that again. And you know what she did? She showed it to me again. It wasn't a big deal. Back in the past, I'd have quit my job before I'd have gone and told somebody. I can't do that. Yeah. So here I'm learning, I'm growing, right? I'm getting a little bit better at that stuff. So when I couldn't do it, I went and told her I couldn't. And you know what's aggravating is that there's 100 people that work for this company. All of them are young and vibrant, all of that stuff, and all of them can do all of that stuff, and I can't do that. So, that's why I'm going back to school. So I said, look, he rates himself because he has any mistake, real or perceived. What does perceived mean? He thought it was a mistake, maybe it wasn't one. Even if he just thinks it's a mistake, he has a real issue. It's really going to get him. And you can see how that will cause you to burn out because you're anxious and scared and all of that stuff. I had a lady I went to, they had a job where you're going to be director over this program, and I went to get the job, and I didn't get it. It's a friend of mine, this other lady got the job. And about 6 months later, I happened to be back out there, and I went to look for her in her office. And they said, well, she's not in her office. I said, where is she? She said, well, the person I was talking to said, well, more than likely, she's sitting in her car, not parking lot. I said, why on earth is she sitting in her car in the park? They said she always sits in her car. Now, she didn't come into the office. She had gotten a job she really couldn't handle, and the way that she dealt with it was to come to work, punch in, go out, sit in her car, and then punch out at the end of the day.
Damn.
Yeah, she wasn't making much. She wasn't doing her job, right? So what do you think happened? And after a period of time, she actually, instead of them firing her, after about 6 months of that behavior, she left.
6 months?
Yeah, there were other people covering for her and stuff like that, which is not a good plan. So here's the deal. Even if it's not real, he's discounting. I'm really sorry. It's a shame that you can't see what's going on over here. There's some stuff going on sometimes. But real or perceived. Now, here's the deal. If I'm at my job and I'm doing 95% of my job very well, What does that tell you?
Got 5%.
There's 5%. I might need to pick up there, yeah, but look, I'm doing pretty well in 95% of what I'm doing. So I'm not going to go and berate myself. I'm not going to go and let myself go because of 5%. Right? I'm going to say, okay. Now I want to do 100%. I want to do a little bit better than 100%. I want people to say, hey, Dr. Garner does 110%. I want them to say that. That's not likely going to happen. Because even at 100%, that's a lot to get done. If you're doing 100%, that is fantastic. If you're doing 95%, but you're on your own case because the 5% you're screwing up, I'm going to guarantee you if you're at work and you're doing the job and you're at like 75%, you're doing better than most people. So, the other part of it, we need to be looking at that. And like you said, we need to be trying to pull that up. And we need to try and work on that a little bit from time to time, get that somewhere a little bit better. But we're not supposed to let that get us anxious or depressed or burned out or run away. Now, I wish that I had known that young lady was sitting in her car. I don't know. Hey, I'd have gone out there and ran her out of that car and run her back into her office. She lost her job, but I didn't know until after it was over.
She was a professional. Last July, 6 months.
She was. Yeah. And because people covered it up and people took care of her and all, she was able to sit in her car for 6 months. And cry and do whatever she could do. I have been at the issue where the stuff was so hard, so bad, so terrible that I had to go somewhere for a minute. Y'all ever done that? Get up and just, okay. Quit for 5 minutes. Go outside, walk around. Go to Walmart. Always a comedy show at Walmart. And then come back. So, we said, look, he's terrified. This is what he really, this guy probably, he suffered from this imposter syndrome. He put some stuff on his resume that might not should have been there. So when you they call it padding your resume. So when you send in your resume or you do, what do they call it? Your application, take out your application. What do you put on there? There's only one thing you need on that application. What is it? What? Occupation. Age.
Social Security.
That's 3 things already. One thing you need to put on the application. That's one.
That's
The truth. Yes, the truth. Stuff you think you're good at? Okay, you don't need that on there. Put the truth on there. And then when you get there and you go down here and you can't do that, you never said on your resume, you never said on your application you could do that. Never said that. Never said, I didn't hire on as an IT guy. Never put nowhere on my application does it say anything about IT. Doesn't say anything. It says, I'm a counselor. I'm a public speaker. I do this. My feet don't stink. Good, important, and telling the truth. So this guy is terrified that he'll be exposed as an incompetent fraud. And people are going to find out he's incompetent. People are going to find out he's a liar. People are going to find out he cannot do what he claimed to do. So a guy at the airport, he was drunk. But he and his 2 little kids and his wife at the airport, and they were looking at a helicopter out there. So they were looking at the helicopter. And so when you walked over, it was security was headed that way, so we walked over with them and asking, what are y'all doing over? And I spoke to you behind that fence, and I supposed to go here at the helicopter. One of the kids said, my daddy took us up in the helicopter and brought us back down. What? That helicopter ain't moved in 30 years. It's broken. It don't fly no more. So he was saying something that wasn't true, and then had talked his child into telling us a lie about what he was able and unable to fly that thing, even if it was. So he was found out pretty quickly. Yeah, and nobody, we didn't correct the child, but we did correct the dad. And so, and now in a relationship, it's the same thing. We've been talking mostly about our employment, mostly about places of work and all of that kind of stuff, and it applies there really well because that, this is where we're all of us should be going back out to find some place of employment when we get out of here. So it applies there really well. But one of the other places it applies is in relationships. We all have relationships, right? Even if we don't have romantic relationship, if we go out and get a job, we're going to have we're going to have a relationship with our boss. We're going to have a relationship with our coworkers. We're going to have a relationship with our sponsor. We're going to have a relationship with the people in our AA group or NA group. We're going to have a relationship with people in our church. And relationships are part of life, right? So there's a lot of them out there. We're going to have that. So after several, this is another example, after several unsatisfying relationships, Roberta found herself someone who feels like a perfect fit. There's a lot of people out there that when you run into them, they like everything you like. They go everywhere you go. They want to do everything you want to do. They feel like that perfect fit, that this is what? The one. Right? Yeah, I've had people tell me, I've met the one 17 times. Yeah. So, this person feels like a perfect fit. But she's plagued by feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness. So the person, and that can come from a whole lot of places, but one place it comes from is this imposter syndrome. I'm trying to be someone I'm not. And I don't know, but I don't know about you, but I do know about me that every time when I was back in the dating world, and that was 52 years ago, I would always put my best foot forward, right? You got to let that person see the best you. And sometimes to be the best me means I can't be the real me, right? Sometimes I have to make stuff up. That makes me seem better, at least in my own eyes, and hopefully in other people's eyes as well. So it's kind of a hard thing. But I got to make up a new persona for who I am for every person that I meet. Right? I was married a couple one time. One of the things that he did, they were older, and he wore a colostomy bag. Colostomy, I can't say it. I cannot say the word. Colostomy, but whatever it is, one of those bags on the side. Colonoscopy. That's a little different. But colostomy bag, whatever it is. And one of the things that he told me before they got all ready and everything was that he had told her that. He said before we decided that we wanted to make it legal and all of this stuff, I let her know that I wore this bag. That I couldn't tell he wearing the bag. They're not all of that visible nowadays. I said, do you think that was a good plan? Yeah. Sure, it was necessary. Yeah, it was a necessary plan. Because what do you think when you go home and he pulls the shirt off and there's this thing?
Oh, hell.
Yeah, he said, we can't be doing that. So this lady was feeling unworthy and all of that kind of stuff because of things that had happened in their past and all of that kind of good mess. But Roberta goes out of her way to hide her imperfections. And you know, I've said this a couple of times, I know y'all know it, but I've been married for 52 plus years. Next March, the 24th, it'll be 53 years. My wife, over those period of time, has let me know all of her information. I know everything bad about the girl. Everything bad about the girl. I told her if she dies before me, I'm going to write a book, a tell-all book about everything she's. Anyway. We need to be honest in our relationship, because if we're not honest in our relationship, it's going to hurt the relationship when all that mess comes out.
You gotta tell her about your book.
Say it again?
You gotta tell her about it.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna. She wants to be cremated when she croaks, and so when she's suffering, I might have told y'all this already. When she croaks, I'm going to have her cremated, and then I'm going to put her dust in a big bowl of soup, big thing of chili, and feed it to all the old ladies at the church.
You little taste of that.
You sick, let me go on.
They must have been a cruise, or they must have been a cruise. Only they must have bagged up
No, we don't forget. Well, yeah, some of those old ladies at the church, you know, they need some chili. So anyway, Roberta goes out of her way to hide her imperfections. Let me ask you this: if you really have an imperfection in your life, are you going to be able to hide that successfully for any length of time? No. It's going to make itself known. If you have a real imperfection, if you have a character flaw, and let's face it, most of us have character flaws, we wouldn't be in the shape we're in. So if you have a character flaw or something like that, then that thing's going to show itself. It's going to show itself. It's going to come out there before you know it. You know, if you're an egotistical person, then you're going to know that. People are going to know that you have a big ego. There's a difference between being egotistical and being confident. We need to be confident without being egotistical. So, she said, look, she's convinced her partner will one day discover all of her flaws and then leave.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
Is that possible? Well, sure it is. You know, if you got all of these flaws, all of these things that are in your life, and you keep them hid from anybody, you keep them hid from your new partner, keep them hid from your new spouse, and when they finally do come out, everything is on the table, they might leave, right? They could leave. What would be a better plan? Yeah, put them all out on the table to start with. You know, I snore really badly. You know, I'm prone. I'm pretty in pretty good shape right now, but I'm prone to gaining weight. I cuss like a sailor. Whatever it is, I need to let that person know before I try to have a relationship with them. So these are the things that are in my life. This is the real me. This is who I am. And so then, if the person says, "Hey, I can't deal with that,"
It's something to take out money.
yeah, and if they take off running, that's an okay thing. Now, it was not too long ago, but there was a lady who drowned her own children.
Damn.
Put them in a car, and then pushed the car into the lake.
Yeah, it was good.
And remember why they did that? Y'all remember that?
Yeah, I've done something like that shit off of mine. But not recently, they had a bad kids and shit.
Yeah, they're still looking for him.
Yeah, that's right.
So why did she do that? She said that it was a relationship thing. She had met this guy, and she wanted to have a relationship. And he had told her that he couldn't see himself being with a girl who had 3 children.
Oh,
So suddenly, she don't have 3 children.
that's the way that shit.
That's some stuff. Yeah, that's some stuff. So, what do we do? And I think we already said it. She's convinced her partner's going to discover her flaws and leave. Here's the deal. When I was young and I was dating and I was trying to attract my wife and all of that stuff, I wasn't showing her any of the nasty stuff in my life. I showed her all of the good things. But I will tell you that before we got married, before some of those things were talked about. Because when we got married, I was already using a lot of alcohol. And, she knew that. I let her know that. She didn't think at that time, I didn't think at that time, but I had an issue. That issue blossomed as we went. But we got, and she was able to work through some of those things. So, real quickly, I want to run through these just real quickly. And then on Tuesday, we're going to be talking about our best possible self. And we'll be getting into some of that. But this, I took a little bit longer on this than I wanted to. But it was some good stuff. Some of the risk factors that we have that can get us into this is a toxic or a hostile environment. Sometimes, the environment we live in. When I was a kid growing up, my dad was a stone cold alcoholic. He was in prison more than he was at home. My mother was a practicing witch. So that makes it pretty tough. Right? There ain't but one way to go. And only. Can't go any other way. Can't go that way. Can't go that way. Can't go down that. You have to come this way. That's the only way to go. First in the family, sometimes take on a specific role. We get to a place where we know we have more than we should have. We're doing more than we should have. Have an achievement-oriented lifestyle as a child, where your parents are trying to make you be achievement-oriented as a kid. But we ought to let our kids have a childhood. Instead of trying to make them do something. Perfectionist tendencies. I told y'all that I suffer from perfectionism. We have perfectionist tendencies. It's going to get us here, and I have been there. That's not a good place to be. Experiencing discrimination or biases. You get discriminated against a lot of times. It will lead you here. So I'm trying to show people that I am something that you don't know. Trying to show you something different. Low self-esteem or self-defeating thoughts. If I have low self-esteem or self-defeating thoughts, I can get into this place pretty quickly. Then defining success based on your job role. And when you find a good job and you base your success in life on how well you do in that job, what does that do? It makes that job more important than other things in your life, which should be more important than the job. Yeah, I feel like God is more important than the job. My wife is more important than the job. The job is important. I didn't say it wasn't important, but there are things more important. So I'm not going to let my role here define who I am. So, defining success based on a role or having a high need. And see, this is almost the same as being a perfectionist, having a high need for external validation. That means I can't be validated. I can't be okay by my own thoughts. I can't be okay by my own self. I need other people to tell me I'm okay. I need other people to tell me I'm doing well. How many people like affirmation?
I do.
People, I do. I like people to tell me I'm doing well. Sometimes I like that more than I should. And sometimes I make sure that doesn't happen by some of my actions. I would like to tell the group this morning, I'd like to give some positive affirmations to the group this morning because most of you did a fabulous job this morning. I appreciate that. Y'all paid attention, and I appreciate that. We had a couple of people who decided it was nap time. So if you go to sleep in group, let me share with you, you do not get credit for that group. No, you don't get credit for the group. When I do the note, your name goes down, goes to your counselor. You didn't get credit for that. And that's not good. You should have credit for the group. So, again, most of you did a fantastic job, and I appreciate that. Now, tomorrow, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but there are some folks that's going to let you know exactly what's going to go on tomorrow and Monday. So I don't want y'all to worry about that. And then I will be back on Tuesday, and we'll get started on something new. So thank you. You are dismissed. The group is over at North. I'm going to be coming in a little bit to get, well, probably